In the church, we like universal Jesus. We like the Jesus who stands on the windswept hillsides with his arms open wide, beckoning the entire world to a cosmic group hug. We like the Jesus of "For God so loved the world and go into all nations." This is the Jesus who fits on our polished marble statues or on our gold embossed prayer cards. He's accessible, he's inclusive, and he's comfortably far away. But then we hit Matthew 10. And here Jesus he sounds a little bit exclusionary. He sounds territorial. He sounds like he's building a wall instead of a bridge. Go nowhere among the Gentiles, he tells his inner circle. Enter no town of the Samaritans. Now, if we're being honest, this kind of makes us squirm a little. We live in a world where we are constantly and rightly trying to be more inclusive, more global, and more diverse. Jesus' command feels like a step backwards. It feels like we're creating a member-only club. And as we continue our Lenten series using Dr. Amy Jill Levine's The Difficult Words of Jesus, this is one of the most perplexing teachings that we usually skip over in Sunday school because it doesn't fit the brand. We want a Jesus who is a citizen of the world, but he is acting like a local partisan. But if we're going to be authentic followers of this Galilean rabbi, we have to stop sanitizing him. We have to sit with the discomfort of a Jesus who, in this moment, tells his disciples to stay in their own lane. To understand these difficult words, we have to remember who Jesus was. Jesus was not a Christian, he was a Jew. And he wasn't trying to start a new religion that would instantly span the globe. He was a prophet trying to reach his own people. Dr. Levine reminds us that for Jesus, the mission was urgent. The lost sheep of the house of Israel weren't lost because they were bad people or because they had forgotten their God. They were lost because they were scattered, oppressed by Rome, and lacked shepherd leaders who cared for their souls. Jesus focused on Israel wasn't about hating Gentiles, it was about priority. Think of it this way. If your own house is on fire, you don't start by watering your neighbor's lawn 3 doors down. You start with your own family. You start with the people whom you have a primary covenantal responsibility to. Jesus believed that if Israel could be restored, if the light to the nations could be relit, then the rest of the world would eventually see the way. Now, this is what Levine calls the scandal of particularity. By going only to Israel, Jesus is insisting that we cannot love humanity in the abstract if we cannot love our specific, difficult, unknowing neighbors in the concrete. We are often tempted to love the world precisely because the world doesn't live next door and leaves its trash out on the wrong day. The world doesn't have a political sign that makes our blood boil, but the house of Israel did. Jesus sends them to the people that they know best, which often means the people they find the hardest to love. But it's not just where they go that's difficult, it's how they go. Take no gold or silver or copper in your belts, no bags for your journey, only 2 tunics or sandals or a staff, for the laborer deserves his food. Now, in my opinion, Jesus doesn't make a good travel agent. He sends the 12 out with absolutely no safety net, no money, no luggage, no spare clothes, not even a stick to defend off wild dogs. In our world, we are obsessed with readiness. We have insurance for our insurance. We have prepper mentalities and diverse portfolios. We don't want anything without a contingency plan. But Jesus is demanding some radical vulnerability because the message of the kingdom of heaven cannot be sold. It can only be shared. By traveling light, the disciples were forced to rely on hospitality of strangers. They have to trust that the world is more generous than they fear. They have to enter a house and say, "Peace to this house," then actually wait to see if that peace is returned. And this brings us to one of the most misunderstood words in this entire passage. Jesus tells his disciples, whatever town or village you enter, find out who is worthy and stay there until you leave. Now, when we look at our modern English, worthy sounds like a moral judgment. We imagine the disciples wandering in the streets looking for the person with the cleanest record, the highest social standing, and the most righteous lifestyle. We think of it as a merit badge. But Dr. Levine pulls us back to the Greek. The word that is being used here is axios. The word of axios comes from the world of ancient commerce and scales. It refers to something that draws down the scale. It has weight. To be axios is to be fitting or of equal weight. When Jesus tells them to find someone worthy, he isn't looking for moral perfection. He is looking for receptivity. He is looking for someone whose heart has enough weight to balance the scale of the message of the kingdom. Now, in the first century Mediterranean world, hosting a wandering radical was a high stakes gamble. By welcoming these penniless disciples, a host was taking on a massive social and political risk. They were essentially saying, "I'm willing to be associated with your message." Levine's nuisance here is revolutionary. Worthiness isn't an internal state of holiness, it's the action of hospitality. A person is worthy because they're willing to open their door to the peace the disciples were bringing, even if that peace came with no silver, gold, and a whole lot of trouble. Now, Jesus goes on to say that if the house is worthy, let your peace come upon it. But if it's not worthy, let your peace return to you. Now, I want you to think of this as like a Wi Fi signal. The disciples are broadcasting their peace, their shalom, and if the hardware of the house, the heart of the host, is axios or compatible or fitting, the connection is made. The peace lands. But if the house is not receptive, the signal doesn't break, it simply returns to sender. This removes the sting of personal rejection. If a house isn't worthy, it doesn't mean that the people inside are evil or damned in that moment. It means that the fit isn't there for the message right now. It's a practical assessment of readiness, not a final condemnation of the soul. So, how does this speak to us today? We live in a hyper-connected era. From our smartphones, we can see every tragedy, every war, every injustice that happens across our planet in real time. We feel a crushing weight to have a take on everything. We want to solve the problems of countries we've never visited and people that we have never met. And yet, we often don't know the name of the person living in the apartment or the house next door. We can advocate for global justice on social media while ignoring the lost sheep in our own families, our own workplaces, or even our own church pews. Jesus' command to go nowhere among the Gentiles is a call to local accountability. It reminds us that the kingdom of God begins at our zip code. It's the indicament of our tendency to use universal concerns as a distraction from the hard work of local reconciliation. It's much easier to love the world than it is to love the person who voted for the wrong candidate, or the neighbor who plays their music just a little too loud, or the person in our community who has been marginalized and forgotten. Jesus is saying, start here. Deal with your own house first. Be the shepherd for the sheep that are right in front of you. Perhaps the most difficult part of the passage is the instructions for what to do if the fit isn't there. If anyone will not receive you or listen to your words, shake off the dust from your feet as you leave that house or town. Now, in our current culture, we have two modes of dealing with people who disagree with us. We either try to argue them into submission or we cancel them with fiery vengeance. Now, Jesus is offering a third way, the ritual of the dust. Shaking the dust off your feet isn't an act of malice. It's not a curse in the way we think of it. It's the act of setting boundaries. It is recognition of human agency. Jesus is saying, offer your peace, offer your healing, offer your presence. But if they don't want it, don't stay and become bitter. Don't stay and become a martyr for a cause they aren't ready for. Leave the peace with them. Shake the dust off and move on to the next house. In a world where we often are hooked by digital outrage, we are spending hours arguing with strangers in comment sections. We desperately need the spiritual discipline of shaking the dust. We need to learn how to walk away from toxic situations without carrying the grime of that toxicity with us. We need to learn that we are responsible for the message, but we are not responsible for the response. So, what do we do with this? Now, if we take a look at Dr. Levine's insights and Jesus' hard words seriously, our marching orders for this week are clear. First, we need to audit our focus. Stop trying to save the global world for 5 minutes and look at your local world. Who are the lost sheep in your immediate vicinity? Is it a neighbor who is lonely? Is it a family member you haven't spoken to in 3 years? Is it a coworker who is being bullied? Your mission field isn't out there, it's right here. Identify one local person this week to whom you can offer a tangible peace to. Next, practice radical vulnerability. What staff or extra tunic are you clinging to that prevents you from needing other people? We often use our resources, our money, our status, our busyness as a shield to keep us from truly connecting with others. This week, try to be the needy. Ask for help. Allow someone else to be the host while you're the guest. You cannot find out who is axios or receptive if you never put yourself in a position to be received. Then seek the weighty, the axios. Stop looking for perfect people to align with. Instead, look for the weighty people, those who are ready and receptive. Stop wasting your spiritual energy on those who have already closed their doors and start looking for the open ones. Offer your peace, and if it isn't returned, don't get angry. Don't tweet about it. Just shake the dust off and move on. Keep your peace. Don't let them take it from you. And lastly, be the light in the house. If the world is going to be saved, it will be saved because we tended to our fires in our own homes and neighborhoods. If we can't be worthy hosts to one another, then we have nothing to offer the Gentiles out there. Jesus' words in Matthew 10 are not just historic curiosity or a training manual for a mission field that ended 2,000 years ago. They're the beginner's guide to the very advanced, very difficult way of being humans. They remind us that the gospel is narrow because it is focused, and it's difficult because it is real. We often want a faith that allows us to bypass the messy, lost sheep in our own families or our own neighborhoods in favor of the grand global vision. It's easier to write a check for a crisis across the world than it is to sit in awkward silence of a neighbor's grief. It is easier to debate theology on a screen than it is to offer a peace that might be rejected to someone who knows our flaws. Now, I want you to remember this word, axios. Remember the scales. In this coming week, you are going to encounter dozens of people, and our culture tells us to weigh them based on their utility. What can they do for me? Are they worthy of my time? Are they influential? But Jesus asks us to look at a different kind of weight. He asks us to look for the person who is heavy with the same longing you have, the person who is ready to receive a peace that the world cannot give. That worthy person might not look like a pillar of the community. They might look like the lost sheep that Jesus was so concerned about. They might be the ones everyone else has already written off. But if they're receptive, if they are axios, that is exactly where the kingdom of heaven takes root. And for those who carry the weight of the world on our shoulders, those of us who feel like we have to fix everything and save everyone, hear the grace in the shaking of the dust. Jesus gives you permission to move on. He gives you permission to let your peace be returned to you. You are not called to be a martyr for a door that is locked tight. You are called to be a witness to the doors that are swinging open. There is a holy economy in shaking the dust. It preserves your energy for the next house, the next town, and the next lost sheep. Who is waiting for a shepherd? As you leave this place, you are being sent out not to a vague world, but to your specific, gritty, complicated lives. Go to your house of Israel. Go to your people who are already in covenant with. Go to your families, your friends, your literal next door neighbors. The mission starts there. And go without your staff. Leave behind your defense. Stop trying to be prepared for every social conflict. Instead, try being present. Try being vulnerable. Try being a person who needs others as much as you help others. And go with peace. This is active. Don't just wish for peace, offer it in every room you enter this week, whether that's mentally or even physically. Say, peace be to this house, and see what happens to the energy of the room. See who is axios to receive it. We are sent out not as conquerors with a bottomless wallet, but as healers with empty hands. We are sent to be the light that Dr. Levine reminds us to be relit within our own communities before we can ever hope to illuminate the globe. The kingdom of heaven is not a distant dream. It is not the next country over. It's not in the next election cycle. It's right here in your house where you are about to enter, in the hands that you are about to shake, and the lost sheep you are about to love. Go nowhere else until you have loved the ones right in front of you. Amen.